the body.
And you know, it's funny because everybody we've talked to, we've interviewed a couple of people on different ways to relax in Tai Chi. We're going to show you an interview we did with our friends James on Tai Chi and yoga, and they always talk about this breathing. And, you know, it's funny because so often we do such shallow breathing. You know, I notice it in my life, and I certainly notice it in people around me, how you could hardly hear people breathing anymore. And it actually serves a function. Besides just keeping us alive, it has some really important functions, breathing, you know, cleansing our blood. It actually eliminates everything that doesn't serve us in our blood, as well as transporting oxygen to our body. Like every little cell in our body actually needs oxygen to survive, and breathing is the way we get that oxygen. So I know when they talked about, the doctor in the last video talked a little bit about that exhaustion, and part of that is coming from not breathing, because oxygen actually gets us energized and gives us vitality. Lack of oxygen gives us disease, and it doesn't feel too good, and too much lack of oxygen.
You know what I love to do?
And forget it, it's over.
I love to be in a public place where there's a lot of people around, and I realize I might be getting a little tense. And one of the things for me to relax is to take a really deep breath. So I'll do that. I'll go, and other people like hear it. And most of the time, it actually makes them a little tense. I think they associate that with somebody like who's really angry and trying to calm down, and it might just be
you know, that huffy thing.
And it's not. It's just like that really deep, just filling up the lungs breath. And then after I finish it, it's almost like a yawn. I'll hear around me a few other people take that really nice deep breath. So that's one great thing. Just breathe deeply.
Breathe. I encourage it every day, all the time. Breathe.
Yeah, 24/7. It's a good thing.
It's a really good plan.
You want to stay on the planet? Keep breathing. We offer such helpful tips. And now that we've stated the obvious.
Well, that's my point. Is it seems so obvious, but there's so many people that aren't actually breathing.
Oh, I
mean,
do it.
Shallow breath is just not good.
I have that really shallow breath, and I think, oh, I feel so, and then I think, oh, just breathe.
I know, I do it. You know, Brandy and I were teaching for a while down in Santa Fe, and there would be times where I would, like in class, like every 15 minutes, I sort of picked this up from a friend of mine where I take this really deep breath, and the class is kind of quiet, and people are teaching and people are focused, and I'd be over on the side and take that really deep breath, and all the eyes in the class would turn around and look at me. It was really funny every time, and that's just Mitch breathing, you know, and we'd kind of get a good giggle out of it every 15 minutes. It was kind of fun. But anyway, we should probably show the James video so that we have time to...
Yes, and he also offers another really cool tip that I hadn't heard before on how to relax yourself.
I know, I've been using that.
Watch closely, yes.
We can keep talking about it.
Yep, okay.
Hi, so I'm Mitch Friedman, and this is my colleague, James Serendip. I'm a clinical certified hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, as well as Lord and Master of the Universe. Isn't that right?
That's
right, yeah. So we just had a little chat with James about kava, and now we're going to talk to James also about another way to relax, which I know, James, you're a teacher of Tai Chi, isn't that right?
That's right.
So tell us, you call it something else. I call it Tai Chi
Chuan. Yeah, I call it Tai Chi Chuan. Chuan in the Chinese just means open hand boxing. It means it's a fighting art. And I call it Tai Chi Chuan because that's the real name of it. In China, if you say Tai Chi, they'll say, well, what is that? It means something about breath, but it isn't a practice. Now, the thing is, in this country, people mostly think of Tai Chi as this soft, relaxing thing that old people do in the park, and they don't realize that it's actually a fighting system.
I've seen people in the park doing that, so even as an outsider from Tai Chi, it's hard for me to imagine that it could be, I think, warrior and battle, and it's hard to imagine those people moving around so slow. They look so peaceful.
That's right. And, that's the interesting thing to me about Tai Chi, and this is why I was drawn to it as a martial art. What's so wonderful about Tai Chi, it really, it takes the idea, the concept of combat, of conflict in martial arts, and goes at it from a really different angle. In other words, pretty much every other martial art I've encountered, it's about technique and learning to defend yourself, to counter moves and to attack back and all these kinds of things. Right. And most of them emphasize and stress self-defense. But Tai Chi's different. What they emphasize is self-cultivation. And so the idea is that you learn to relax your body at such a profound level and to relax your mind that this internal energy begins to move and flow and develop and build. And that's what Tai Chi means. Tai is like ultimate or heavenly, supreme, and Qi is breath or energy. And so it's this sort of quasi-physical, quasi-energetic substance. They talk about it as if it were an energy, but also as if it has an actual physical substance. They talk about the Qi moving through the bones in the body and depositing a residue so that the bones become very strong and supple. And so that's one of the benefits. But the way it works as a martial art is you learn to make yourself so soft that hard force can't hurt you. And you think if you were to hold up an old shirt and punch at it, you could punch the shirt all day and you wouldn't hurt it very much.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And so the reason you practice very slow and soft is because you're learning to relax the body so that when it's met with a hard force, it can just receive it and redirect it without having to meet it head on. And so it isn't about who's stronger, who wins. It's more about showing your opponent that their own aggressive tendencies are not getting them anywhere, so that their aggression will just sort of burn itself out.
And I know that people I've talked to about Tai Chi Chuan have said that they actually feel it, like the relaxation and that softening of, even down to their tissues, down to a cellular level, like it really goes deep, that relaxation really goes deep.
That's right, and that's the wonderful thing about it is you get this direct feedback as to how deep you really are relaxing. For serious practitioners, they will practice in pairs in an exercise called pushing hands, which is almost like sparring or fighting. But really it's a form that two people do together. And as you go through the form, you get to see how relaxed you are and how good you are doing in terms of maintaining the postures, the structure of Tai Chi. And then if one person becomes hardened in some area, that person usually will get thrown. And they'll fly and hit the wall and crash into things. But so when you're getting knocked around like that, you get a real direct experience. Oh, I see. I stiffened up and wham, I hit the wall.
So it's really, it's going from that fight or flight, really getting a sense of when your body's in that fight or flight and holding that tightness, holding that energy in your body, that tension, stress or whatever, whatever that is in your body, as opposed to instant, contrast to that of the body softening.
Right, well, we talked about this, how the idea of Tai Chi relates to what you've been addressing on the program, stress and tension, and how to relax that. And so the real unique thing about Tai Chi is not only does it teach you to relax, but it teaches you to relax in the face of hostility, in the face of aggression, in the face of conflict.
In the face of real life.
In the face of real life. And, like I tell my students, it's not like I expect any of them to go out there and get in a brawl in the parking lot. Most of us don't do that in our lives. But yet there is this sense of opponent sometimes. There's this sense of someone else's energy is interfering with us and what we want to do. And what I also tell my students is I'd like them to think about the enemy, the opponent, as really being your own egocentric mind. Being the very idea of I win, you lose. That's the enemy. In Tai Chi, in the classics of Tai Chi, they say to stand on the neutral ground is to stand on the ground of victory. And so what this means is, as a Tai Chi practitioner, you achieve victory the more you can quiet yourself and not be attached to outcome and not be set on I must win, I must not be defeated. Because it's that thought, that feeling inside the body that causes the body instinctually to tighten. It starts to activate a sympathetic nervous response.
Exactly.
As soon as you get that feeling of I have to defend myself or I have to attack, that's what the body's meant, that's what it's designed to do, is to go into the strong aggressive mode.
Right.
But the originators of Tai Chi Chuan, and it's very mythical where it comes from, but supposedly it's Taoist origins, these people had evolved to a point where they could see this isn't necessarily the strongest, most effective method. I'm now this evolved conscious being, so let me use my knowledge and see that in the natural world, the softest thing overcomes the hardest thing. So if I'm met with hard force and aggression, if I'm going to try and meet it with hard force and aggression, then it's just a simple contest. The stronger wins. But if I relax into it, I can just kind of adhere to that energy and redirect it and move it around. And that's why you see people moving in these slow circular motions. It's all about being able to stay calm enough, relaxed enough, that you don't feel the need to respond to hostility with more hostility.
And I know it's beautiful to watch. I used to go visit friends in San Diego. In fact, I lived in Hillcrest for a while, and in the park right outside of Hillcrest, groups of 50 people would be, it's amazing. They would all be doing their Tai Chi Chuan all at the same time in perfect unison and perfect alignment. And it looked so peaceful and so beautiful. It was